Okay, so first, I want to read this Gemara inside that we mentioned last time. But this is the Gemara where a lot of his ideas are going to be based upon, right? So this Gemara in Brachas, this famous Gemara, it's a song also. So the Gemara says like this: Tanya, we learned in the Brisa. Omar Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, Rabbi Shmuel the son of Elisha says, Pam achas nichnasti. One time I entered lahaktir ketoris, to bring ketoris, right, incense, lifnei v'lifnim, in the inners, meaning in the kodesh hakadoshim. V'reisi akasrikel, and I saw akasrikel, which is some kind of a name of God, I guess. Ko Hashem tzvokos, different names of Hashem, right? Shehu yoshev al kisei rom v'niso, that he was sitting upon this lofty and uplifted throne. V'omar li, and he says to me, Yishmoel b'ni barcheni. He says to me, Yishmoel, my son, bless me, barcheni, bless me, right? So amarti loy. So I said to him, Yihir etzom l'fanecha, let it be your will before you. Sheyich b'shu rachamecha es kascha, that your rachamim, right, your mercy, should contain your kas, your anger. V'yigoylu rachamecha al midoisecha, and your rachamim should reveal itself over your other midos. V'tisnaheg im bonecha b'midas harachamim, and you should practice with your children only in midas harachamim. V'tikones lahem lefnim shuras hadin, and you should enter with them beyond the measure of judgment. That's the end of his prayer. V'nana li b'roishay, and he what's the word, that he shook his head in agreement, and that's the story, okay? And he shook his head in agreement, okay? So the Gemara just says, when to finish off the Gemara says, "V'kamash malon." What do we learn from this story? What's the point of this whole story? That a blessing of a ordinary person, like a hedyot, a regular person, should not be light in your eyes. Okay?
Okay.
So that's this story, this very peculiar, interesting, fascinating story. Okay? All right. So now that's that. That's the Gemara in Brachas. All right? So this is Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. I guess it happened on Yom Kippur, that he went to bring, he was a Kohen Gadol, obviously. He went to bring Ketores, and this is what, and he met Hashem face to face, and Hashem told him, give me a bracha. Okay. All right. So now, let's get back to Nefesh HaChaim. So we started the Shar Beis, right? Last time we started Shar Beis, and the whole point of Shar Beis is going to be basically to answer one question. What was the question? So he said that in the second chapter of Shema, it says you should love Hashem your God, ula avdoi, and you should serve Him b'chol levavchem v'chol nafshechem, and you should serve Him with all your heart and all your soul, all your hearts and all your souls. It's plural, right? So. So, and he's saying that since we understand that the word to serve over here means to pray, right? Because the Gemara says, Ezohi avodah shebelev, that's tefillah, which is the service of the heart, because it says to serve with all your heart, so that's got to be talking about prayer. So good. So he said. So the question that he had was, we understand what it means to serve, to pray with all your heart, right? To have kavanah. We understand what that means, but the question is, what does it mean to pray with all your soul? How do you pray with all your soul? In the first chapter, it also says with all your soul, but over there it means to give up. If sometimes a person has to give up his soul, meaning his life, for God, right? For the love of God. But when it comes to prayer, that doesn't, how do you apply that to pray? That's the big question that he has over here in Shar Beis, and now he's going to answer that. So, but then he said, before we answer that question, we need to understand what the word Baruch mean, right? When we say Baruch Atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, what does that mean, right? Mm-hmm. So he says, well, at first hand glance, it sounds like we're saying, blessed are you Hashem, you're so blessed. It's some kind of a form of a praise, right? He says, no, that's not what it means. So that's what we're going to start. Perek Beis, in the beginning, V'ha'inyan, and the matter is like this. Kemilas Baruch, for the word blessed, Ein aloshon tehillah v'shevach. It's not a form of praise. Like a regular person would assume. For when Hashem said to Rabbi Yishmael over here in this Gemara, Yishmael b'ni barcheni, Yishmael my son, bless me. So right, what was the Rabbi Shmuel's response? We just read it. What was the response? He didn't say you're so great, right? He said bless me, and he says, oh, it may be your will that you should have all this rachamim, etc., etc., right? So it's a request. He wanted something out of him. He said, this is I'm asking you to behave in a certain way with your children, Klal Yisrael, right? So loy omar shum shevach b'virchosai. So in the blessing, which is what Rabbi Shmuel responded, if he was requested to give a blessing, so obviously that prayer is a form of a blessing. So, but it wasn't a form of praise. They didn't say any praise. He clearly stated a certain request. Elat filo bakosas rachamim. It was just a prayer and a request for rachamim, for mercy. Right? So we see that that bracha, the word blessing, is not a praise, but it's a request. It's a verb. Okay, it's not an adjective, like we would assume. Blessed are you, Hashem. It's an adjective. You are so blessed, right? It's an adjective. He's saying no, it's not an adjective. It is a verb. We want something out of Hashem. We're telling Hashem, bless, something. Bless you, Hashem. You should be blessed, meaning you should do something that will cause this blessing. So how do we understand that? So v'chein bab mitzia, similar ideas expressed in bab mitzia. We discussed this last time. Berachachon, Hashem says it will bless He will bless you if you return the mashkin, the security deposit that you hold. And the Gemara says Yotza Hegdish Shein Tzarich Bracha. It doesn't include Hegdish because Hegdish does not need bracha. Obviously, right? Hegdish does not need a blessing. What does it mean? Hegdish does not need a blessing. You can't say Hegdish does not need praise. It doesn't mean anything, right? So Paruch Hashas v'lo Ksiva Achalta v'Savot v'Rachtas Hashem. But we see we do bless Hashem. So Hegdish does need blessing. So what does the word blessing mean? So he continues with the sentence Aval Ha'emes. So in truth, Ki Baruch, this word blessed, Perushay. The explanation is Loshan Toisefes v'Ribuy. It's a language of addition and expansion, v'Ribuy, increase, right? So basically expansion, right? The word blessed bracha baruch means to expand. Okay, so when we're saying Baruch Ato Hashem, we're actually requesting Hashem to expand, to be blessed. We're actually telling him, Hashem, we want you to be blessed, meaning we want you to expand. Okay, that's what it means. We're requesting something out of Hashem. Okay, Inyan. Similarly, like we say in the regular, right? Kachas birchasi. When Yaakov Avinu met Esav, right, and he gave him all these gifts, right? Yaakov's phrase was Kachas birchasi. Please take my blessing, right? What does that mean? Please take my blessing. He wasn't saying, here, let me praise you. He's saying, no, let me give you some of the things that I increased with. I increased with all of these animals, right? With all of these sheep and whatever camels. So let me share with you this blessing, this increase that I got. So we see that blessing means an increase of something. Similarly, the Torah says, "Ubeirach eslach mecha." Hashem will bless your bread. Again, it can't mean that He will praise your bread. It means that He will increase your bread. Ubeirach pribitnecha, where it says Hashem will bless the produce of your womb, right? Again, so that means that you will have many children. You will increase in children. And many other examples in the psukim. You cannot explain these psukim as a way that these are referring some sort of a praise. Clearly that they are referring to some kind of an increase or an expansion. Okay, so basically, what the Nefesh HaChaim is saying is a very different explanation of the word blessing, different than what our scroll tells us. Okay, what he's saying is that blessed is a verb. We say Hashem, we want you to expand. I guess to expand in this world, right? And again, he's going to explain what that means in very. We're going to get some very sensitive, nuanced, deep stuff right now, okay? Which is going to be okay. We'll see. But anyway, so we're basically what the Nefesh HaChaim is saying, that when you're saying Baruch Ato Hashem, you're not saying Hashem, you are blessed. You are requesting Hashem, please be blessed, meaning expand yourself, increase your presence, I guess, in this world.
And Baruch is the correct form of the verb for that?
Yeah, Baruch. Yeah, Baruch. Right. Now, so that's one. So now I want to read to you just as a um, as a contrast. So this over here is Sefer Chinuch. Okay. Well, this has it's called Minchas Chinuch because it also has an explanation on the side, which is called Minchas Chinuch. But this is Sefer Chinuch. Sefer Chinuch was most likely written by the Ra'ah, which is called Rav Aaron Halevi. He was a Spanish or provincial, depending. Not sure now. Basically, the northern France, northern Spain, southern France, from the 1200s. Okay. So he has this sefer called Sefer Achinuch, which is basically it's divided into parshias, where he in each parsha he explains the mitzvahs from that parsha. So it's basically another sefer mitzvahs, a book of mitzvahs, where he enumerates the 613 commandments, but it's split along the way in the parsha. It mainly follows the Rambam's approach to figuring out what the 613 commandments are. Okay, so now I'm just going to read to you one paragraph over here. This is in Parshas Ekev on the mitzvah of Birchas Hamazon, right?
Okay.
This is what's the mitzvah of Birchas Hamazon. It says, "V'achalta, you will eat; v'savota, you'll be satisfied; v'irachta, and you will bless Hashem your God." Right. So there's a commandment. We have an explicit commandment to do this thing called a blessing, right? A blessing to Hashem, right? So what is this nature of this commandment? That's what he's about to explain. So it says, Mishar She'eh mitzvah, from the root of this mitzvah, stop, it says, Hakdoma. First, let me give you an introduction. Didn't I tell you, my son? B'mashe kodam, from what I've spoken before, ki l'shem baruch hu, for to the name of Hashem, blessed be He, kol ha'koved v'ahoid. We give all honor and praise. V'chol ha'toiv, and all goodness that you could possibly imagine, we attribute to God. V'chol ha'chochma, and all the wisdom that we can possibly imagine, we attribute to God. V'chol ha'yicholos, and any ability that we could possibly imagine, we attribute to God. V'chol ha'bracha, and all of the blessing that we can possibly imagine, we attribute to God. Meaning God is all able, right? All wise, all knowing, any praise, we take it to the highest level. We could still, right? God can do all of those things. V'divrei ben Adam. Now, when it comes to a person, v'chol maseh, and all of his actions, im toivim ra, whether those actions are good or bad, lo yosef v'lo yigora. Really, when it comes to a person doing actions for God, he does good things or he does bad things, really he does not add anything to God's glory, or does he take away anything from God's glory, right? Al kein tzorich ato lehavchin. Then so you have to appreciate ki be'amarenu tomid b'birchas baruch ato Hashem, and we always say blessed are you Hashem, or Yizborach, we say Hashem should be blessed. Eina mashmois livhi hadoima. You can't understand it that we're trying to say, as it sounds, lehoisiv bracha, that we're trying to add blessing to Hashem. Okay, you cannot understand that we're trying to add blessing to Hashem. Because Hashem does not need your addition. He doesn't need. You can't say that. Like basically, he can't say what Nefesh HaChaim is saying, that we're telling Hashem, be blessed, meaning increase. I mean, he understands that the word Baruch means to increase, right? But how could it be that we're telling Hashem, Baruch Ato Hashem, you should increase? Hashem is infinite. He can't increase. There's nothing that we could add to God's glory, right? So how could it be that we're telling Hashem Baruch? He says, how could we cannot add blessing to somebody who does not need any addition, God forbid.
Doesn't it mean increase in the sense that increase towards us?
Right. Okay.
Us.
So that's how he's going to resolve this, right? Kihuha Adonai Allah called, for he's the master of all. V'chola brachos hu mechadesh, and all of the blessing, he's the one who makes them. Umamtzion me'ayin, and he creates them from nothing. Umashpia mehen shefa rav, and he pours forth great shefa, whatever the word shefa means. Ba'asher tiyah shom retzoyna hatoiv, whatever his goodwill desires. Al kain, therefore, tzrichin olon lechapes kavona sa'inyan mahu. So therefore, we have to figure out what is the intent when Hashem says, you should eat and bless me. What is Hashem telling us to do? Eat and bless me, right? V'lo noitzes manenu b'mesheh ha'esek boi tomid miblei havona boi klal. We don't want to waste our time without understanding what we're saying. V'ani ha'me'orer ein machshava si sheyasik sichle afilu ketipa min hayam be'amita seinya. Now, me, the little guy, he's writing, I'm not going to even, pretend that I know a drop out of an ocean in the full comprehension of what's going on. But kikvar hugad li v'shamati mipi chachomim, because it was told to me and I heard from sages. There are, in these things lie great secrets and important foundations. These are things that are only revealed by the sages of the Torah to their students when they already reach a certain level of understanding, and they act accordingly. So I just want to understand a little bit of the reason, of the meaning behind this idea. Okay? So, maybe I should have been quiet, but the love breaks the bounds. Okay? So I don't want to read the whole thing. So he's saying Hashem clearly, it says over here that Hashem is the creator of everything, and He created the world, and He wants to bestow goodness upon this world. That everybody understands. Okay? But now that you understand that, Noimar, we will say, She'inyan abracha, that the meaning of this idea of blessing, Shono emrim lufonav, that we say before Him, Einenu rak hazkora le'oirer nafshenu b'divrei pinu. What we're trying to say is to induce in our minds, okay, to impact in our minds constantly, ki hu ha'mevorach, that He is the blesser, and He is the source of all of the goodness that we have. Okay? So when we constantly apply this understanding, to thank Him, that all of this goodness that we have, they are included in Him and they result from Him. And He's the king over them. And He decides to send them forth to whoever He chooses. Then we are worthy to bring down upon us from His blessing. Okay? So basically what he's saying is that the reason why all of our prayers, right, are in a form of a blessing, not just benching, but Shemon Esrei, all of our prayers are in a form of a blessing. Baruch Ato Hashem. He's saying is that before we come to request anything from Hashem, we say Baruch Ato Hashem. We appreciate the idea that He is the source of our blessing, that He is the one who created the entire world, and He bestows His goodness upon whoever He chooses, and we appreciate that idea constantly when we say the word Baruch. Once we appreciate that idea, that everything that we have comes from Him, then we can request particular things.
So Baruch in this sense is not request, it's more like a word of
like a praise. Right, it's exactly right. It's exactly, in his understanding, is that the word Baruch means praise. Okay? Praise. What's the praise? You are the source of all our blessing. Okay? And that's how Art Scroll takes this approach. If I'm not mistaken, if you look at the translation, I'm not sure, I'm not sure where they write this. If they write it, the English Art Scroll or the Hebrew Art Scroll, I'm not sure. Somewhere they say this idea. I'm not sure where they say it, but okay. Whatever it is, okay? So the chinuch, okay? So the chinuch clearly says that the word Baruch, in its basic meaning, right, without getting into the deeper stuff, is just the praise that Hashem is the source of the Baruch Ato Hashem, She'akol niyeh b'dvaro, that this thing that I'm eating is from Him, that He created this. Baruch Ato Hashem, blessed be Hashem, you are the source of all blessing, including this one. You are the source of all blessing, including that one. That's what the chinuch is saying, right? So the Nefesh HaChaim is saying not like that. The Nefesh HaChaim is saying very different. He's saying, no, we are telling Hashem to increase, so to speak. But like you said, we're telling Hashem to increase not in essence, and that's what he basically is going to address right now. Of course, I don't mean that we are telling Hashem to increase in the essence, because His essence is beyond increase. It's right, and so, but so they, I don't, they don't necessarily disagree. They're just discussing different layers of understanding. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Just I want to point out one more thing, that the word Baruch, right? The word Baruch, I think we pointed this out once upon a time, right? Is composed of three letters. The root of the word is Beis, Reish, and a Chaf, right? Beis is 2. The gematria of the letter Beis is 2. The gematria of the letter Reish is 200, and the gematria of the letter Chaf is 20, right? So basically, you have the second letter in the tens. You have the second letter you have the second letter in the single digits. You have the second letter in the tens, and you have the second letter in the hundreds, right? So you take the second letter of each layer of the alphabet of different layers of numbers, and you get this root called Borech, right? Because that's the idea of the word Baruch. Baruch means an expansion. So the number 2 is the beginning of expansion beyond the number 1, right?
Again, base is 2.
Base is 2, Reish is 200, Chaf is 20, right?
Okay.
So, meaning the entire word is composed of letters signifying a doubling, so to speak. So that's the idea. In the word itself, the idea of increase, of expansion beyond 1, so to speak, is represented, right? So, and that's what also the word Bechor, which means firstborn, right, has the same letters as the word Baruch, just it's in different order, but it's the same idea, because again, there's the father, he's the one, and Bechor is the beginning of expansion into the next generation. It's the same idea, the same word, the same concept, right? Okay. All right. So let's see. So now he's going to say, okay, so we'll get back to Nefesh HaChaim. So Nefesh HaChaim, again, his understanding that the word Baruch is a verb. We're telling Hashem to increase, to expand, to, right? Ubezoyer Omar Bekama Mekoimes. So in Zohar, he says in a few places that Le'amshocha Birchon, right? When he talks about this word bracha, he uses these words Le'amshocha Birchon, to bring down the blessing. Ule'aroka Birchon, or to pour forth a blessing. Ule'asufe Birchon, or to increase a blessing. Toisefes Ribu de Birchon, or a great increase of blessing. Right? So we see that, again, in the Zohar, this word blessing constantly signifies some sort of addition or increase. Right? V'ayin b'rayim mehemna, look at another place, B'shaboruch ato havaya, that blessed are you Hashem, perushoy k'mashmo'oy, that there he says that the explanation is as it sounds, Lamshocha o la'aroko chayin mimekoyra dechaya, to bring forth and to pour forth life from the source of life. L'shmei dekuchabrichu kadisha, to the name of Hashem, the Holy One, right? As it is written, Uksiv v'achalta v'savoto v'rachta Hashem elakecha, you should eat and you will be satisfied and you will bless Hashem your God. V'inun birchon arik barnash bi'inun milin. And these blessing a person pours forth with these words, meaning with the words of the benching, right? So again, is just bringing proof that this idea of blessing, specifically when it comes to this pasuk of benching in the Torah, is referring to an increase of blessing, and he's going to bring a bunch of sources. Ein Sham B'Aruch, we can also there and here and everywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to skip that, right? Just one line he brings from another place. Soid Baruch, the secret of the word Baruch, b'chol mine ribuyin, increase in all types of increase, all sorts of possible increase. It's the most abstract word for any kind of increase. Okay, next paragraph. Amnam. And this is so now he's gonna get now that he told you that the word baruch means increase, now he has to delve into very sensitive area. Because like he also said, how do we, right, if God is infinite, right, how do we talk about his increase or decrease, right? How do we discuss that? So now it's going to get very tricky. So let's see. Amnam inyan abracha lo yisbarach shmai. So now, but you have to understand that the idea of blessing, blessed be his name, eina kavona le'atzmus adon yochid baruch hu kavyochel. Of course, it's not to the essence of the singular master, as it be. Chalila v'chalila, God forbid. Kihu meroimim me'al kol bracha, because he's above any blessing. So what does it mean? Aval ha'inyan k'moy she'omru b'zohar. The idea is like it was expressed in the Zohar. The kucha brichu sotim v'galia. Hashem, right? Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem, he has two sides to him. Sotim v'galia. A hidden, sotim means hidden, v'galia, and the revealed. Okay? So when we right, Hashem has two aspects, not even sides, but two aspects, a revealed side and a hidden side. Ki atmos ein sof, the essence of the infinite, ein sof means there's no end. The essence of the infinite, Baruch Hu, blessed be He, sotim mikol sitim, it's hidden from all hiddenness. Ve'ein lechanoi soy chas v'sholem b'shum shem klal, we can't even refer to God to any name whatsoever. Right? He's going to explain. We always refer to God by various names, right? Even Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? We can call Havaya, right? Hashem Havaya, the name of Hashem, the four-letter name. That's not a name for the essence of God. We cannot, anything that has a name, that means it has a definition, right? Anything that has a name, this is a book, right? We understand, meaning we can clothe the idea of a book with the word book, right? So everything that we understand, we give a name for it, right? Math concepts, right? When we figure out a new math concept, we give it a name. Oh, this is the law of, whatever it is, science. This is the law of this, right? Everything that we understand, we have a name for. So seemingly would imply that if we have a name for Hashem, that means we understand Hashem, because we have a name. We can name a thing, right? So he says, no, God forbid. Any name, we cannot really ascribe any name to the essence of God. The essence of God is beyond our ability to name it. Afilu b'Shem Havaya, even with this central name, this four-letter name, Shem Havaya, still it does not describe the essence of Hashem. V'afilu b'Kutzei Shel Yud, and even in the uppermost point of that name, it's called Kutzei Shel Yud, that little point of the Yud, which is supposed to be the highest level of that name, even that is far away from the essence of God as you could imagine. Okay? So, okay. And even we see from this that Zohar doesn't often use the name for when it's referring to Hashem. It calls him Hashem is often referred to as Ein Sof. Ein Sof means no end, right? Ein Sof, no end, right? So even in that, he says we see something. Even that, he says, is not a reference to the essence of God. Even the idea of infinite, right, without end, no finity, right, no end. So even that is not a reference to the essence of God. That is a name to our ability, or in this case, inability, to understand God. We understand that much, that He has no end, meaning no end to our ability to grasp Him. Our ability to grasp Him does not have a chance to end, right? So our ability, or like I said, inability to grasp mitzad koichos and yishpoim from the receiving end, even to the his connectedness to the world, to the creation that he created. Even within that connectedness, Ein Sof, we have no ability to comprehend. Even within the world that he's already revealed himself, even within the revealed side, we have no ability to grasp. The side that's hidden, we don't even have the ability to grasp, to grasp the ability, it's beyond all of our ability. But even in the revealed side, it's Ein Sof. There's no end, right? V'lozois kinu Ein Sof. That's why they call Hashem Ein Sof, no end. V'loi Ein Reishis. They could have called him just as well as Ein Reishis. There's no beginning, right? If God is infinite, meaning infinite is on both ends, right? There's no end and there's no beginning, right? But we call Hashem Ein Sof, no end. Why didn't we call him no beginning, right? Because the kibi emes mitzad atzmusa, because what they're trying to illustrate with these words Ein Sof is because when it comes to Hashem's essence, Ein loy sof, sorry, kibi emes, for in truth mitzad atzmusa, as far as the essence of God is concerned, Ein loy sof He has no end and no beginning. Rak mitzad hasagaseinu, it's only from our ability to grasp him, or inability, like I said, we only can grasp a sort of beginning of understanding, right? But we cannot connect to the end of our understanding cannot reach the end of even within the revealed side. Okay. All right. So what we do understand a little bit, now we do understand a little bit, and as a result, we ascribe to Hashem certain descriptions, or certain names, or certain phrases, right? We do say, let's say, Hashem, right, does kindness, right? Now, but we cannot say Hashem is kind, right? We cannot say Hashem is kind. You think, well, why not? What's wrong with that? Kindness, that's such a good thing. No, but when it comes to God, kindness is a limitation, right? You are ascribing physical characteristics, our world, to Him. Now, occasionally we do ascribe it like that, but we have to understand that those ascriptions, those descriptions, they're only based on our perceptions. We are describing our perceptions of God's actions and nothing more. We're not describing the essence, the nature, the personality of God. Those things mean nothing when it comes to the infinite, right? So now, even though we find these descriptions, we find them in the Torah, and even in our nusach of prayer, kulam heim rak mitzad his chabrusoy isborach Eloi lometz. We only are describing the connection that God created to His creation, the part of Hashem that He allowed Himself to connect with the world, right? And only the forces that He created for Himself, so to speak, after the bria, after the creation. Okay, in order to stand them up and to give life and to guide the world according to His will, and this is what we refer to when we're talking about the spheres. Okay, so all of the kinuyim, all of the names and the phrases and the descriptions that we use, they are only our description of the expression of God within the creation. We are only describing, naming, again, the godly expression within the world that we experience, right? So all of our descriptions, again, these are descriptions or names for God's expression within the world that we experience. Okay? And that's going to be very important. So the reason why I'm just like saying this over and over again is because this is very nuanced. There's a reason why, right, certain Kabbalistic ideas, the HaChaim did not want to make so public, right? Because once you get into it, it's very difficult, or it's very easy, let's say, it's very easy to mess up and to to either, well, the problem is that person will limit the true essence of God, and he'll limit it to something very specific, which is close to idolatry, because God is infinite. We cannot do that, right? So we're getting into areas that are very nuanced, very deep, and very sensitive. Okay, I think we'll have to stop here, anyways. Even though I thought we'd get a little further. Well, we have 2 paragraphs to finish this chapter. Should we try? Okay, let's stop here. It's late, and then we'll continue. We'll pick it up next time.